Hello, everyone. I'm Judge Janine Pirro, along with Jessica Tarlow, Jesse Waters, Sandra Smith, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Sanctuary city leaders are gearing up to resist Trump's mass deportation force as justice finally comes for the illegal immigrant monster who brutally murdered nursing student Laken Riley. A judge in Georgia taking less than 20 minutes to find Jose Ibarra guilty of murder, sentencing the Venezuelan national, who should have never been in this country in the first place, to the maximum of life in prison without parole. Ibarra sat emotionless in court as he listened to the heartbreaking victim impact statements from Laken's friends and family.
If you had the ability to bring her back out of all this, I would give up every earthly possession I have to see her infectious smile, hear her contagious laugh, and her infamous "love you, girl."
As a father, I am forever burdened with the pain of losing my child. I will spend the rest of my life trying to navigate this grief, trying to make sense of the world that took my daughter from our family. But I will never forget.
Laken Riley's story is a gut punch reminder of why the majority of Americans back President-elect Trump's plan for mass deportations. Ibarra was a member of the bloodthirsty Tren de Aragua gang, which DHS claims has spread to over 17 states and counting. But all the Democrats want to do is resist. Los Angeles City Council approving a, quote, sanctuary city ordinance preventing any cooperation with federal authorities. And other liberal governors and mayors are speaking out against the plan, against Trump's plan.
We will not be participating in misguided efforts that harm our communities. It harms communities. It tears families apart. And that's not going to happen on my watch.
What we can do is make sure that we are doing our part to protect our residents in every possible way, that we are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear.
Okay, Jesse, I'll start with you. You know, what we've got is this Jose Ibarra. He's illegal. He didn't belong here in the first place. He commits 2 crimes, endangering the welfare of a child, shoplifting, and we, of course, fly him free to Georgia. He goes there, kills a woman, has no remorse at all about it, and he is a member of Tren de Aragua. There's no vetting. There's no nothing. But now we hear that the Democrat governors like Pritzker and Katie Hobbs from Arizona, Michelle Wu, they're like, no, we're going to fight this. We don't want anyone being deported.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry to the family. It's just such a tragedy, and it never should have happened. Mm-hmm. And that's what Bill Clinton said. Bill Clinton said if Kamala had done her job vetting these people, Laken would still be alive. And it's pronounced Laken, Joe Biden, all right? Now, if you're going to say you're going to oppose federal action, this is what's going to happen. Whether it's the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, any federal law enforcement agency, when they go in with a fugitive task force to go grab people, there's nothing the locals can do. Let's just say they decide to call the local chief because the chief's not cooperating to deconflict. All right, fine. You don't want to tip them off? They're coming in, and they're coming in heavy, and they're going to do a really good job. And because they have to go in so heavy because they're not getting cooperation, they're going to probably interview and pick up more people than they were targeting. And if you don't want to give us a call from the jail to let us know who you have so we can pick them up, they'll post up right outside of the local jail and interview anybody that comes out of there. That's what's going to do. So if they're actually inviting more federal presence by not cooperating, that means more migrants, not just criminals. Anybody here illegally is going to be removed. Now, if I was a migrant judge and I saw that Trump won, I'd pack my bags and get on the first flight to Nicaragua. Because here's the other option. 6 a.m., ICE knocks on your door, puts you in a van. You haven't brushed your teeth. You haven't packed. Maybe your wife had already left for work. Where's she now? So they're going to put you in a van. They're going to take you to a military base where there's going to be hundreds of other migrants who aren't going to be very happy. And they're going to probably have you there for 3 to 4 weeks until they put you on a flight and send you back to Nicaragua. And then you have to do the walk of shame. If you go back on your own terms and you arrive at the village, You can say, you know what, Boston wasn't for me, didn't like the food. Let me regale you with my adventures in Estados Unidos. You could do it that way, or you could do it the other way. It's their choice at this point.
You know, the interesting part of this is, Jessica, that I don't understand, is that you've got these mayors, Michelle Wu, who, you know, she literally has gotten rid of her the gang unit in her police department. She's given the names of her enemies to the police department. Can you imagine if Donald Trump did that? But she's defying this mass deportation push with a lot of the others because it's causing fear. And yet what she's doing is she's protecting convicted felons, people who 1.4 million have final deportation orders who haven't been deported. Are they anti-American or just pro-illegal?
I think it's more nuanced than that. And what I would have done if I was responding to this is articulate the distinction between people like Jose Ibarra and other people who have committed crimes here who must go. And the mandate from the election, I mean, Massachusetts moved 6-7 points to the right. I mean, people were voting for Elizabeth Warren who were voting for Donald Trump. And part of that definitely was the overcrowding of our big cities because of the migrant crisis. And everyone does know that while everyone who is here is not someone who is guilty of a crime or would even commit a crime, majority are good people, that there are some who have slipped through the cracks. So I would just say we are a sanctuary city. It is important to us that those who live here and contribute feel safe in their homes, but we want to do everything possible to make sure that the bad people who do not belong here and who abuse our system go. And I look forward to working with the federal government in doing that in an orderly fashion.
So you think that this resistance is a bad idea, especially when it comes to the 1.4 million, to the 13,000 convicted murderers, to the sexual assault, to those who were guilty?
I don't think that anyone actually thinks that isn't a good idea. Honestly,
yeah, they do.
No, they don't. I think that they are misreading.
It's causing fear. Who gives a damn about fear if Americans are in danger?
Like I led with, I think that she should have been clearer in what she was articulating, which is I don't want to create fear amongst people who are here. They may be undocumented, but they are leading good and just lives, not committing crimes, and criminals. I don't know any Democrat that says that these criminals should remain here.
Well, Sandra, then why wouldn't they come out and say, as opposed to saying, I will not let my police department give information to ICE, why wouldn't these alleged good Democrats who care about Americans say, we will cooperate if and give information if it involves a convicted felon, a sex offender, or someone who has already had a final order of deportation? Well, they could say that easily.
I just heard you say slip through the cracks, Jessica, and I think that would be assuming there was a wall. There's no slipping through cracks. I mean, there are many of these people who are here. Paul Morrow joined me directly following his sentencing today. And he said, after walking that same jogging trail where she was brutally murdered by this monster and this heinous act, he said, Paul Morrow, there are more of them. And they target women. And you look at him sitting in that courtroom today, as we did for a solid hour during our show this afternoon. He showed zero emotion. And it tells you a lot about this man and the reason why they're able to carry out these horrific murders, because they don't value human life. He doesn't value his own, as he is sentenced to life in prison without parole. And he certainly did not respect life in the form of Laken Riley. That mother in that courtroom today was burying her head in her hands. She was inconsolable, as our producer in that courtroom was detailing. This could have been settled down in Georgia, right? But he presumed his innocence all the way through, took this through trial. The victims that spoke out in that courtroom, it was chilling. Her sorority sisters, her roommates, her friends, her sister, who is now an only child. It was heart-wrenching to watch this. And so, Jessica, I mean, what we saw in this election was people who saw cases like this rise to the forefront. And they said, this cannot happen where we live. This girl, this nursing student, went out for a run one day and wound up dead. And that story ended up in living rooms all over this country. And people said, that's enough.
You know, Greg, two things. There is an intel memo in the intelligence memo that says that as more Venezuelans continue to populate the United States, there is an even greater chance that TDA becomes increasingly increases its number. Why are we not vetting these people?
Well, I don't think we have to. I think we have the solution. We know. We send them to Mayor Michelle Wu's house. If she's vowing not to cooperate with deporting illegal aliens, well, now we know where to send them. We send them not to their cities, but to their homes. And every time that criminal leaves the city block, you put him back on. I will pay for the bus tickets. I'm happy to do that. If Wu wants to be a hero under her fake virtue signaling, then she should absorb both the risk and the responsibility for the public stance that she's taking. You know, this is a moment in time where you wish there was a death penalty, but perhaps there will be an inmate in that facility who will step in to fill that hole and take care of business. You know, Wu and others should consider themselves lucky that Ibarra wasn't sent to Boston, where she could have been nearly raped and murdered. It's amazing that a woman can take that kind of stance in a situation where another woman is murdered. It could have been Michelle Wu. Could have been, does she have a daughter? I don't know. I didn't do that research. I don't care. But if you want totalitarianism, talk about putting ideology before the needs of citizens. You know, it's not like these politicians didn't know that the migrant crisis was causing a depletion of resources from the citizens and putting their lives at risk. They know that, but they also realize that these are the eggs that they are willing to break to preserve an allegiance to their ideology. This is not an authentic virtue signaling, oh, we feel this compassion. They are basically doing this for some reason. Maybe it's because they think that they cannot be aligned with the other side. But the Dems need to define what mass deportation is. What's your number? What number are you comfortable with? Because if you can't give a number, we're going to do it. We're going to shut off the border. We're going to remove the criminals, followed by the illegals who just got in. And then we're going to stop when it's under control. Because it's not a social question. It's an economic one. How much can your city, your suburb, or your state can handle? You don't know economics. You don't even know how to protect your citizens. You're no longer welcome at the table. Bus them to Michelle Wu's house.
I'll help pay too.
Yes.
By the way, there should be a death penalty if an illegal kills an American citizen. It's time. She had a right to be there. He did not.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.